All right, God's telling me to take over right now with the law of one. So we're going to keep doing a little bit more. Can you tell me what bias creates their momentum toward the chosen path of self, of service to self? Ignorance. That's what the bias is, because there's things that we don't know, and we learn through experience, and we come to dead ends just naturally because we've never been there before, and so we haven't developed the wisdom yet, and that's where you learn new things. So that's what we're doing all the time in our creativity of navigating the life experience. So we're never perfect or never whole, but we get more whole through more experience. So, can you tell me what bias creates their momentum towards the chosen path of service to self is ignorance? But it's also indulgence because being a devil is fun, isn't it? So it's like naughty fun, right? That's why people do it as well. Yeah, that's basically what it is. We can only speak. This is the answer. We can only speak in metaphor. Some love the light, some love the darkness. It is a matter of the unique and infinitely various creator choosing and playing. Among its experiences as a child upon a picnic, that's exactly what I was trying to describe. Some enjoyed a picnic and find the sun beautiful, beautiful, the food delicious, the games refreshing, and glow with the joy of creation. Some find the night delicious, their picnic being pain. Difficulty, yes, self pity. Some love wallowing in self pity, right? Because it's suffering of others. Yes, some people do enjoy that, and the examination, but it's not true joy. That's the crux, the crux there, and the examination of the perseverities of nature. These enjoy a different picnic. Yes. Um, All of these experiences are available. It is free will of each entity which chooses from the form of play, the form of pleasure. Yes, that's right. A lot of that pleasure seeking is temptation, and that is service to self. But none of it's really wrong as such. It's just experimentation and learning, individual learning. But I find that very, very interesting. Um, yeah, there you go. Examination of the perseverities of nature. That's a little bit like what I'm doing here in this examination. And I guess I'm teaching from this place as well. But if I was to do it myself without people, in the absence of people, that would be a different story as well, as it would be. Um, that's interesting, isn't it? Um, I was just wondering if an entity polarizes towards the service to self path, would the anger have the same physical effects that it affects an entity polarized towards the service to others path? Um, well, it gets you back in the platform to be of service to others quicker by getting angry because it makes you want good to a higher level when you're angry. You want to, unless you stay there in a state of anger. That sort of goes from the last question. But when you get more wisdom and more wise, you're going to want to be of service to others quicker with enhanced knowledge. So that's less ignorance as you learn more wisdom, right? Um, would it also cause cancer, or is it just a catalytic effect working in the positively polarized entity? Um, Polarization, because it's a mind body spirit connection working together, so it's actually electromagnetic vibration working with your whole system. So that's what polarized means. So when you're positively polarized, it's actually positive energy infiltrating within your whole system, um, causing that electromagnetic polarization. So that's just what I want to clarify as I'm reading all of these questions and answers. Right, answer. I am Ra. The catalytic mechanisms are dependent not upon the chosen polarity of a mind body spirit complex, because we've got free will. We can choose the polarity, right? And polarity also means like between positive and negative. like a charge, right? But upon the use or purpose to which this catalyst is put, thus the entity which uses the experience of anger to polarize consciously positively or negatively, which is when you choose to get back in the platform or if you choose to stay there consciously. It's a conscious decision. And your wisdom will enhance what you do in that situation, the free will choice. Sorry, I'll just read it again. Thus, the entity which uses the experience of anger to polarize consciously, positively, or negatively does not experience the bodily catalyst, but rather uses the catalyst in mental configuration. Absolutely, it's your free will decision. And your thoughts will manifest that bodily catalyst. If you want to get cancer, you can stay in that lower vibration. So it's a catalyst in mental configuration because you can choose. You've got the choice, and then your body's feelings will follow from that decision that you make, right? Okay, there's cancer in the next question, which is interesting, isn't it? Not sure I understand that. Well, I hope I made sense of that for you to then understand. Let's take some examples. Teaching people helps you understand. That's another point I'm making here. That helps you understand material, people, by being a teacher. It'll all fall into place. Help people and you will get helped. Not sure I understand that. Let's take some examples. If an entity polarizing toward the negative path becomes angry, let's take the condition where he develops a cancer. What is the principle of that for him? You've stayed angry long enough for a cancer to develop, or have been out of the platform for long enough for that to manifest. But this is their answer. We see the thrust of your query and will respond at variance with the specific query if that meets with your approval. The thrust of your query. So it was a passionate question. We'll respond, yeah, it's not specific enough. We will respond at variance with the specific query if that meets your approval. Okay, certainly. Okay, so they're going to break down the answer. Let's have a look. This is the subsequent response. The entity polarizing positively perceives the anger. This entity, if using the catalyst mentally, blesses and loves this anger in itself. Yes, because you're more consciously aware. So if you polarize positively and you see anger coming on, you detect it straight away, and then you know how to basically deal with it from a place of wisdom, right? This entity, you know about oneness. You know anger's a passing wave in the ocean. You know how to handle it interpersonally with people. Part of that is being arrogant, by the way. It's actually a higher vibrational trait. This entity, if using the catalyst mentally, blesses and loves this anger in itself. So you have more self-compassion, I would say. I don't think anyone loves anger. I think it's trying to say it's more self-compassion if you are in a negative state. It then intensifies this anger consciously in mind alone, until the folly of this red ray energy is perceived not as folly in itself, but as an energy subject to spiritual entropy due to the randomness of energy being used. Randomization is really good. And also, if you just go to bed when you're angry and just not talk, but just soothe yourself, basically, you will get more thought forms that basically time always heals. Time is a good healer, and in that time it's subject to randomness, and that's where your spirit guides can also help you with constructive solutions in your calm state of being or a calmer state of being. Yep. So you can get more angry basically until you get back in the platform. It's just, I would say, without getting too technical, it's a passing wave in the ocean, right? And more wisdom is going to help you with a state of being that is anger. Positive orientation then provides the will and faith to continue this mentally intense experience of letting the anger be understood, accepted, and integrated with the mind body spirit complex. Absolutely. That is exactly why I'm here being transparent all the time about all of my feelings, because then you accept it as just a feeling, and you're not scared of sharing that with people. And that's perseverance. Positive orientation then provides the will and faith to continue, which is perseverance. And that's positive orientation. So that's the best way to deal with life's problems, perseverance and having hope and faith. And that is where you keep learning wisdom, because you're never going to be fully whole. You're never going to have all the answers anyway, right? We learn as we go. The other self, which is the object of anger, is thus transformed into an object of acceptance, understanding, and accommodation, because you know it's part of the one whole. So it's just a thought form or a condition that's out there, and we accept it and say, yep, that's what it is. So that's why we give it a home and say we accept that for what it is. I don't need to think about it anymore if I don't want to think about it. Instead of being resistant to it and trying to basically kick it away, like what people do with me, right? All being reintegrated using the great energy which anger began. Yes. Yep, it's from the same energy stream, from the oneness of everything that exists. Right. The negatively oriented mind-body-spirit complex will use this anger in a similarly conscious fashion, refusing to accept the undirected or random energy of anger, and instead, through will and faith, funneling this energy into a practical means of venting the negative aspect of this emotion so as to obtain control over other self. Yeah, because you're not consciously aware enough to get into a positive state, so the negativity will keep perpetuating until you hit a brick wall and have an enlightenment moment where you're like, oh, that's what that meant. And that has to happen, basically, for you to have the understanding. Or otherwise control the situation causing anger. Yes, so beating somebody up, basically, because you don't know any better to be positive yourself. The anger is actually from you. No one else is really causing it, people. Control is the key to negatively polarized use of catalysts. Acceptance is the key to positively polarized use of catalyst. Yeah, so control is the key to negatively polarized use of catalyst. That's exactly right. So when you have a trigger, a catalyst, control is more negative. Acceptance to the catalyst is more positive. That's the secret. Between these polarities lies the potential for this random and undirected energy, creating a bodily complex analog of what you call the cancerous growth of tissue. Yeah, that's right. Random and undirected energy, that's undeliberate creation. That's creation by default because it's lack of conscious awareness. And that is why cancers happen, because it's a default state of negativity, because you don't have the wisdom yet to know that it's about helping people and not yourself. That's really the answer that we're looking for. It goes beyond acceptance. It actually goes into helping people. They say acceptance is the key to positively polarized use of catalysts. Yes, with a trigger it is, but helping people is your higher vibrational frequency answer that goes beyond acceptance. Then are you saying that if a negatively polarized or polarizing entity is unable to control his own anger or unable to control himself in anger, that he may cause cancer? Is this correct? This is correct, yes. The negative polarization contains a great requirement for control and repression. Repression meaning that you're not suppressed, but you're causing it yourself. Repression, basically, you're locking yourself up in mental chains by what you're doing to you. So that's causing a lot of inner turmoil, and that causes cancer. All right? Suppression is sort of someone else doing it to you. Repression is you doing it to yourself. That's what I. But you're always doing it to yourself, even if you sense people are suppressing you. It's always you just doing it. Um, so yeah. A repression of what? Someone's asked. Any mind complex distortion, which you may call emotional, which is of itself disorganized, needs, in order to be useful to the negatively oriented entity, to be repressed and then brought to the surface in an organized use. Yes. Yep, that's exactly right. Um, so you have to get that negative to have a light bulb moment to then reorganize yourself. If you don't know how to control it sooner. Um, yeah, and that's the self repression that you do. So go to Abraham Hicks. It's really interesting because they talk about the concept of a cork being pushed under the water, and then when it floats on top of the water, that's you not having any resistance in your vibration. It's a similar thing. So being brought to the surface is solution oriented behavior. But you get to choose when that happens, and if you're unaware, you have to hit a brick wall to then have that light bulb moment to have the awareness. So yeah, that's actually what happens, and that is to do with the black hole. Look up the black hole because it's in those dark moments that everything originates from. Because it has to have that light and dark duality, but that's another topic about the black hole. Thus, you may find, for instance, negatively polarized entities controlling and repressing such basic bodily complex needs as the sexual desire, in order in that the practice thereof, the will may be used to enforce itself upon the other self with greater efficiency when the sexual behavior is allowed. Yeah, so basically, sex is a way of love. Like that's how to get love. That's a gratification thing where love can happen very quickly between people. And so, if you feel stressed, like at work or whatever, you're looking forward to going home and having sex with your wife, and it's really good. And that's why people are very obsessed in society with sex for that reason, because it gets you in the platform very quickly. So that's your free will informing your own constructive solution. One free will solution out of many that you can choose. And that's why sex is there. Also for reproduction purposes, but it's also got that purpose as well. Could you? Yeah, I think that's probably it for now, is it? Or do you want me to keep going? They want me to keep mainfreighting P plate. Um, Hang on a minute. Okay. All right, people. In the case of service to self polarization, what type of catalyst would entities following this path program when they reach the level of programming with their own catalyst? Um, the negatively oriented entity will program for maximal separation from and control over all those beings and conscious entities which it perceives as being other than the self. Yep. So that's not oneness mentality. It's basically seeing people as separate. That's separation mentality. It's not unity consciousness. And we've all got a bit of that because we're all here in an illusion because that's designed that way for us to then get back into the platform all the time so we can keep having that love and creativity and sexual accounting. Um, I'm getting a pain in my neck as if to say, nerd wanker. That's another thing. because that's why I'm here doing this, right? Because we're investigators. We're trying to find solutions. And that's why nerd is good. These people are nerds, people, and they're highly advanced in their races, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. And they're sharing their wisdom. Yes, that's what they do. That's service to self, because it's a perception of not being as part of the one whole. Um, and you get negative entities joining you in wanting control over others when you're aligned with that energy. So you can go down into deep darkness or power if you want control over other entities, because you've got negative entities basically joining you in that momentum stream. Yeah, so that's basically what it is. Would a negatively oriented entity, let's have a look, do anything like this? Could you give me an example? Okay, the answer is a negatively oriented individual mind body spirit complex will ordinarily program for wealth, ease of existence, and the utmost opportunity for power. Thus, many negative entities burst with the physical complex distortion you call health. Right. However, a negatively oriented entity may choose a painful condition in order to improve the distortion towards the so-called negative emotive mentations, such as anger, hatred, and frustration. A painful condition, like a painful condition, like enduring a job you don't like, for greed, for example. That's a painful condition to improve the distortion towards the so-called negative emotive mentations, such as anger. So you do it for the payoff: anger, hatred, and frustration. So you have all those feelings that you do for a payoff, right? But the payoff is an illusion. That's what, and they're calling it distortion here. That's what they use as distortion. It's an illusion, but it you don't know any better. That's why you do it, don't you? Such an entity may use an entire incarnative experience on honing a blunt edge of hatred or anger, so that this is Dolomite mentality, so that it may polarize more towards the negative or separated pole. People spend their whole lives doing this, and then I was watching a video once, and there was like a financial note in front of a man with a suit and tie, and he was running towards the note with his hand out like that, and the note was like out here, right? And he was running towards it but could never reach it. He was just running and running and running and running, trying to get a hold of this note that was always a foot in front of him. And then he fell into a ditch on the side of a cliff and died, because that's where his whole life experience was wasted. He was blinded by greed, and he never helped people. And that greed wasn't really fulfilling him on his inner level. So that's why people get angry and frustrated and hateful. Unless they're giving. If you're using, like, jobs are good if you're contributing to society. All jobs are contributing to society. Every job you have is. It's your mindset about it. And it's easy to get into greed. A lot of people go on the path of greed because it's a temptation. It's like sex. It's a temptation. Yeah. All right. There we go. Next one. I think that's it for this topic. I think it's very much repetitive here. Right, we're looking at fifth density here. It's fifth dimension, fifth density that they're talking about. So that this might be of interest to people. Right, we're going to a new topic, people.